deep in the heart of the American wilderness, where towering pine trees stretch endlessly toward the sky and small rural communities survive quietly alongside nature. A single spark changes everything when a massive wildfire erupts without warning, turning peaceful forests into oceans of flames. And for the people who live there, loggers, farmers, park rangers, small-town families, indigenous communities, seasonal workers, and wildlife protectors, life is instantly divided into before the fire and after the fire. Because in many parts of America, these forests are not just scenery but the backbone of survival, providing jobs, food, shelter, tourism, and identity. And as the fire spreads driven by dry winds and rising temperatures, entire towns are placed under evacuation orders. Families pack their lives into minutes, grabbing photo albums, pets, and hope while leaving behind homes built over generations. And firefighters from across the country arrive, risking their lives day and night, breathing smoke thicker than fog, knowing that one wrong step could mean death, yet continuing because these forests and the people depending on them matter, while local economies collapse overnight as sawmills shut down. National parks close, tourism disappears, and workers who rely on weekly paychecks suddenly have nothing. Grocery stores run low, gas stations close, and small diners that once fed entire towns become shelters for exhausted evacuees sharing stories of loss and fear. And meanwhile, farmers watch helplessly as flames consume grazing lands. Livestock are evacuated or lost, crops turn to ash, and years of hard work vanish in hours, while Native American tribes mourn sacred lands burned, ancient trees destroyed, and cultural sites erased, reminding the nation that these fires don't just burn land, they burn history, memory, and identity. And as the fire rages on for weeks, smoke blankets entire states, schools shut down, hospitals fill with patients struggling to breathe, children wear masks not for pandemics but for survival. And the question on everyone's mind becomes not just how to stop the fire, but how to rebuild life afterward. Because when the flames finally die down, the real struggle begins in the silence of blackened forests, where homeowners return to find nothing but foundations, businesses face bankruptcy, insurance claims take months or years, and mental health crises rise as people battle trauma, guilt, and despair. Yet in this devastation, something powerful also emerges as neighbors help neighbors. Strangers donate supplies, volunteers rebuild fences, rescue animals, and cook meals, proving that even when nature shows its most destructive face, humanity can respond with resilience, unity, and compassion. And slowly life begins again as new grass pushes through ash. Communities reimagine safer building methods, forests are replanted, fire prevention programs expand, and stories of survival are passed down as warnings and lessons for future generations. Because in America's wildlands, fire is not just a disaster, it is a test of endurance, responsibility, and respect for nature, teaching that survival is not only about rebuilding homes, but about understanding the fragile balance between human life and the natural world. A balance that, when ignored, can turn paradise into ashes, but when respected can allow both people and forests to thrive together once more.
As weeks turn into months after the wildfire, the reality of survival in these American forest regions becomes clearer and harsher, because rebuilding is not just about wood and nails but about restoring livelihoods that depended entirely on the land, as former loggers now stand unemployed staring at burned hills where forests once promised decades of work. Tourism workers migrate to other states in search of temporary jobs, and small-town economies struggle to breathe again while federal aid moves slowly through paperwork and bureaucracy, leaving families in trailers and makeshift shelters through harsh winters, and children grow up faster than they should as they learn what loss feels like at an early age. Yet despite exhaustion and frustration, community meetings fill school gyms where people share ideas, fears, and determination, discussing fire-resistant homes, controlled burns, and sustainable forestry, realizing that the old ways may no longer be enough in a changing climate. While scientists and environmental experts arrive to study the aftermath, explaining how drought, rising temperatures, and decades of forest mismanagement have turned these regions into tinderboxes, sparking debates across America about responsibility, climate policy, and preparedness. Debates that feel distant to those living among the ashes who care less about politics and more about whether their children will have clean air, stable jobs, and a future worth staying for. And as rebuilding slowly begins, some families choose to leave forever, selling land at low prices, saying goodbye to memories tied to rivers, trails, and mountain views, while others stay out of stubborn love for the place they call home, planting trees by hand, rebuilding barns, reopening small shops, and teaching the next generation how to live with fire rather than fear it, and wildlife slowly returns as deer, birds, and smaller animals cautiously reclaim regenerated land, reminding people that nature, though wounded, is not defeated. And through documentaries, news coverage, and social media, the rest of the country begins to understand that these fires are not isolated tragedies but warnings of a future where resilience must replace denial, where preparation must replace reaction, and where communities must learn to coexist with the power of nature, because in these American forests survival is no longer about conquering the land but about respecting it, adapting to it, and finding hope not in what was lost but in what can still grow from the ashes. As time moves forward and the burned forests begin to reshape both the land and the people who remain, life in these American regions enters a long phase of adjustment where survival depends on patience, adaptation, and collective memory, because the fire has changed how people think about safety, work, and the future, and everyday routines now include checking air quality reports, maintaining defensible space around homes, and teaching children emergency plans as naturally as teaching them to ride bikes, while new industries slowly replace the old as renewable energy projects, forest restoration jobs, and fire management programs offer employment to those once dependent on logging and tourism, though the emotional scars remain as families still wake at night to the smell of smoke that no longer exists, and anniversaries of the fire bring quiet reflection rather than celebration. Yet within schools, classrooms become places of resilience where students learn not only math and history, but also environmental stewardship and community responsibility, understanding that their future is tied directly to the health of the land, and artists, writers, and filmmakers from these regions begin to tell stories of loss and endurance, transforming trauma into expression that reaches audiences far beyond the burned valleys, while local governments invest in early warning systems, evacuation infrastructure, and fire-resistant materials, accepting that prevention is now as important as recovery. And as forests slowly regenerate through a mix of natural growth and human effort, people witness a powerful lesson in renewal as green shoots emerge from black soil, birds nest in young trees, and rivers run clearer without heavy industry, creating a cautious optimism that maybe the land is teaching humanity how to start over. And in this evolving relationship between people and nature, the wildfire becomes more than a memory, becoming a turning point that reshapes values, priorities, and definition of progress, reminding America that true survival is not measured by how quickly we rebuild what was lost, but by how wisely we choose to live when nature demands change. As years pass and the wildfire becomes part of local history rather than daily news, its influence continues to shape the lives of those who endured it, because the lessons learned are carried quietly in everyday choices, in the way homes are built farther apart, in the materials people trust, and in the respect shown toward weather patterns once ignored, while older generations share first-hand memories with younger ones who only know the fire through stories and photographs, ensuring that the pain and wisdom are not forgotten, and community traditions evolve as annual remembrance walks replace old festivals, honoring firefighters, volunteers, and lives lost, while also celebrating survival. And in the economic landscape, small towns reinvent themselves through ecotourism, education centers, and conservation programs that teach visitors about fire-adapted ecosystems, turning tragedy into purpose. Yet challenges remain as insurance costs rise, rebuilding remains unequal, and some families never fully recover financially, forcing difficult conversations about who can afford to stay in these regions and who cannot, highlighting deeper questions about equity, responsibility, and the future of rural America. And still, despite uncertainty, a quiet strength defines these communities as people plant memorial trees, restore trails, and rebuild schools with the belief that preparing the next generation is the most meaningful form of recovery. And as technology improves with satellite monitoring, drone surveillance, and real-time alerts, the hope grows that future fires can be managed before they become uncontrollable. But the people who lived through the inferno know that no system is perfect, which is why preparedness lives not just in tools but in mindset, in neighborly trust, and in the willing to act together when danger returns. And in this long journey from devastation to determination, the wildfire leaves behind not only scars on the land but a deeper understanding of resilience, teaching America that survival is a continuous process, built day by day through memory, cooperation, and respect for the powerful forces of nature. As the story of the wildfire settles into the collective memory of the nation, it becomes more than a regional disaster and transforms into a symbol of warning, responsibility, and hope. Because what happened in those American forests reflects a larger truth about how closely human survival is tied to the health of the natural world, and the people who once measured success by growth, expansion, and profit now speak more often about balance, sustainability, and foresight, teaching their children that progress without respect for nature carries a hidden cost. And as rebuilt towns stand quieter but wiser, the silence itself feels meaningful. Broken only by wind through young trees and the distant sound of life returning, while former victims become educators, volunteers, and advocates sharing their experiences so others may be better prepared, and the fire, once a force of destruction, becomes a teacher whose lessons are written in ash and regrowth, reminding America that resilience is not the absence of disaster but the strength to learn, adapt, and care for one another when disaster arrives, and as future generations walk through forests that have grown back stronger and more diverse. They may never fully understand the fear of watching flames consume the horizon, but they will inherit the wisdom left behind, understanding that survival is not guaranteed, that nature is powerful and unforgiving, yet also capable of renewal, and that humanity's greatest strength lies in humility, unity, and the courage to change before the next spark ignites, because in the end, the true legacy of the wildfire is not the destruction it caused, but awakening it inspired, a lasting reminder that when people listen to the land, respect its limits, and stand together, even the deepest scars can give rise to a future rooted in awareness, resilience, and hope.